Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Upasika and here is another travel vlog. In this vlog, I will show you what we did on our second day in Kalimpong. Actually, the second day vlog is too big to be included in one video, so I have divided it into two parts. So here is the first part for you. So our homestay was located right on the main road. It was not inside an alley or in some hidden lane. As I approached, I saw a very narrow railing at the entrance. I opened the narrow railing and I stepped forward. Right in front of me, there were staircases leading downstairs. On the left side of the staircases, there was a wooden door. As I crossed the wooden door and entered the homestay area. Now, if I had followed the staircases down instead, they would have led me to a small forest. It was not a very big forest, just a small forest area. Now, when I say forest, I don't mean some huge dense jungle that you would feel scared of. It was not a very big forest, but the entire area was covered in greenery. There was no proper road or pathway to walk on. I was just walking on some small plants and dense growth of trees. The whole place was filled with big trees and plants, and all I could see around me was greenery and greenery. The area was small, not too big, not too small, but it felt completely natural and untouched. But there was something else about the green patch. It wasn't just plants and trees, it was also being used as a storage area. There were lots of things kept there, like things that looked unused, unwanted, or maybe stored there for future use. So, along with all the greenery, you could also spot many unwanted items lying around. So, being the curious girl, or you could say being the Dora the Explorer, I just took out my phone and crossed a few steps. Then I came across a collapsible gate. It was closed. I crossed a few more steps, and then there was another door, and that one was closed as well. All the doors on the staircase side were closed. At the bottom, there was a drainage facility, but it was completely dry. There was no water in that drainage at all. And in the same area, there were lots of pipes lying around, along with unwanted bamboos and wooden sticks. The wooden sticks and bamboos were kept together in a stack, like one above the other, all piled up in that area. That green grove actually had a nice vibe with dense greenery, constant insect buzz, but at the same time peaceful and safe since there weren't any poisonous insects. The area was clearly unused, and that is why there was so much growth of trees and plants all around. Along with the greenery, there were also lots of unwanted materials kept there. I saw a broken railing, some sand and cement in sacks. There was also a room down there, but it did not had a door. I did not went inside that room. I just saw it from outside. Honestly, there was not too much to explore. So after spending a few minutes there, I came back upstairs. The area itself was big, but because it was a little bit of hilly area, it felt a bit risky. I saw there were further more steps going down at a distance, but with all that greenery around, I thought there could be snakes or harmful insects hiding in there. So I did not explore too much. I just stayed within the front area. While coming back upstairs, I checked whether the doors were really closed or not by pushing them, and all three of the doors were really locked. For our breakfast, we had roti with ghugni. It wasn't heavy at all, and Pankaj uncle had cooked it himself. Our first destination for sightseeing was Morgan House Tourism Property, one of Kalimpong's most iconic colonial era stays. Morgan House Tourism Property is a British colonial mansion built in the 1930s by George Morgan, an English jute baron, originally as a summer retreat and a wedding gift for his wife. So after India's independence, it was taken over by the government, and since 1975 has been managed as a boutique hotel by the West Bengal Tourism Development Corporation. It's also been called the Singamari Tourist Lodge or Darpin Tourist Lodge. Before we actually reached Morgan House, we drove past the Army Golf Course right opposite Morgan House. It's one of the highest golf courses in the country, and it is maintained by the Indian Army, specifically by the Madras Regiment. It is not directly open to tourists. Civilians can't go onto the course itself, but you can take photos from outside, and there's a small area plus a cafeteria adjacent to it that's open to the public. The Morgan House sits on a 16-acre estate atop Durpindara Hill, about 3 kilometers from Kalimpong town. The spot overlooks the Reli, Kafir, Delo, and Lava valleys with a clear view of the Kanchenjunga range from the northern side. It's about 75 kilometers from Shiliguri, 52 kilometers from Darjeeling, and 75 kilometers from Gangtok by road. And the haunted stories are a big part of Morgan House's reputation, though there's no official proof, but it's most local folklore and traveler accounts. The main story is about Lady Morgan, the wife of George Morgan, who built the house in the 1930s. Locals and guests claim she died by suicide in room number 101 after her husband passed away. Room 101 is now the most sought after room, partly because of this story. People say they have felt an eerie presence or seen a figure in a white sari there, especially at night. A lot of reviews mention a strange quiet energy in the place. Some guests have reported unexplained sounds at night, cold spots in certain rooms, or just an overall feeling of being watched. Nothing violent or dramatic, more like a lingering melancholic presence. Staff usually play it down and say it's just the age of the building and the silence of the hills. Morgan House, being a heritage property with a tragic backstory, made it an easy target for the haunted label, and tourism has kept the legend alive. After we left Morgan House, we made a quick stop at the 7th Mile viewpoint, also called the Lovers Point by locals. It's about 3 kilometers from Kalimpong town on the way to Tista Bazaar and is one of the main spots for a clear view of the Tista River and the Rangit Valley. You get a wide panoramic view of the Tista River winding through the Rangit Valley with layers of hills and tea plantations all around.
वही तो ये दार्जिलिंग है और ये बोलता है मोंगपोंग
दार्जिलिंग कौन सा है?
वो वाला पहाड़
जो जहाँ ज्यादा
ওই তো ওই দেখো বেশি ঘর দুয়ার ওইগুলো দার্জিলিং
ना दार्जिलिंग तो और ऊपर से उधर है
এই পাহাড়টা পেরিয়ে আবার দার্জিলিং
जी ये ऊपर से जो जाता है ना ये लपचू बाजार होता है ना
और उससे एकदम नीचे वाला
ये वाला जो ये उधर है सब
বাবু তুই এখন মোবাইলটা
मोंगपोंग ऐसा बताया और ये पहाड़ के नीचे उधर डोर्स
From a distance, the river looks like scattered lakes between the hills, which is probably what you meant by lakes and other hills. The vibe is peaceful and natural, no big structures or crowd, just fresh mountain air and green forest surrounding the valley. People usually stop for 10 to 15 minutes to take photos or just sit and relax. Locals also call it Lovers Point, and you will see why. It's a quiet spot where couples and small groups sit for a while, soak in the view or take photos without the crowd you get at all the main Kalimpong attractions. Some people even use it for short meditation retreats because it's so calm. It's more of a natural pit stop than a built-up tourist attraction. This place sits at the intersection of two routes, one going to Tista Bazaar and another towards the tea garden. You will often see local villagers, tea garden workers and bikers stopping here for a quick tea break. So it's not just a tourist spot but also a real lived-in pause point for locals. That mix gives it an authentic, unstaged vibe. Our next destination was the Zang Dhok Palri Monastery, also called the Durpin Monastery or Zang Dhok Palri Phondang, is one of the Kalimpong's most significant Tibetan Buddhist sites. It's not just a viewpoint, it's a living monastery with deep history tied to the Tibetan exile community. Locals also call it Lava Monastery. It stands as a symbol of Tibetan culture and resilience in exile and is one of the largest monasteries in Kalimpong. The Zang Dhok Palri Monastery was founded in 1957 by Darjom Rinpoche Jigdril Yeshe Dorje, one of the most senior masters of the Nyingma school of Tibetan Buddhism. He came to Kalimpong after fleeing Tibet following China's occupation in between 1949 to 1950. Kalimpong was already home to a large Tibetan exile community, and Darpin Hill became the place where Darjom Rinpoche chose to settle and rebuild. The name Zang Dhok Palri Phondang, meaning Monastery of the Glorious Copper-Colored Mountain, that name comes from Tibetan Buddhist belief. Zang Dhok Palri is a celestial place of Guru Rinpoche, also known as Padmasambhava, who brought Buddhism to Tibet in the 8th century. The monastery is built as a three-dimensional replica of that sacred palace. In 1961, Darjam Rinpoche held the first major Nyingma lineage transmissions here for Tibetan refugees in exile. It became a center for preserving teaching, rituals, and texts that would have otherwise been lost. The monastery was officially consecrated in 1976 by His Holiness the Dalai Lama during his visit to Kalimpong. One of its most significant holdings is the 108 volumes of the Kangyur, the Tibetan translation of Buddha's words. Darjam Rinpoche brought these rare texts out of Tibet and stored them here to protect them from destruction. Tibetans in exile, the monastery isn't just a place of worship, it's a living link to their homeland. When they lost their monasteries in Tibet, places like Zang Dhok Palri became the center where language, rituals, art, and philosophy could survive. Darjam Rinpoche also established the Jangsa Dechen Choling Monastery in Kalimpong in the 1960s to train lamas and students, ensuring the lineage continued. The monastery represents how Tibetan culture survived displacement. The architecture, statues, and texts are all carried over from Tibetan tradition. For the local Tibetan community in Kalimpong, it's a reminder that even in exile, their spiritual heritage can be maintained and passed to the next generation. The monastic college, founded here in 1983, continues to train young monks today. While it's deeply Tibetan in identity, the monastery has become important to Kalimpong's wider community too. Locals, Nepalis, and tourists all come here for peace and reflection. The act of spinning prayer wheels like butter lamps and walking in corridors is a shared practice that bridges communities. For many in Kalimpong, it's also a place of daily calm, a contrast from the town's busy streets. The official visiting hours here are from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. daily. This time is the most consistently mentioned for tourists, and the monastery usually closes by 5 p.m. Entry fees for both adults and children are free. Around 6 a.m., the monks gather for chanting, and it is the quietest. Visitors are allowed to observe respectfully. Avoid 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. in the afternoon if you want fewer people, because that's the busiest slot. Weekends, especially Friday to Sunday, are also busier. Average visit duration is about 1 to 2 hours for a relaxed visit, but people usually spend around 3 hours if you include walking around for the best views. Visiting hours may change during Tibetan festivals like Losar or Saga Dawa. On those days, the monastery can stay open longer with special ceremonies. Photography is allowed outside and usually inside the main hall too, which is rare for monasteries, but always check with the monks first, especially during prayers, and you will need to remove shoes before entering the main prayer hall. Even if you are not a Tibetan Buddhist, the monastery holds cultural weight for Kalimpong's mixed population of Lepchas, Bhutias, Nepalis, and Tibetans. Locals come here to light butter lamps for family health, spin prayer wheels for good fortune, and seek blessings before major life events like marriage or travel. The monastery grounds are always open, and it's common to see elderly locals sitting on the steps in the afternoon, just talking and enjoying the view. It's a social space as much as a sacred one. After soaking in all that peace at Zang Dhok Palri Monastery, we headed to something completely different. That was the Pine View Nursery. And no, it's not a regular flower shop. This place has the largest collection of cacti in all of Asia. Pine View Nursery is Kalimpong's hidden gem for plant lovers. This was established in 1971 by Mohan S. Pradhan, who was originally an orchid businessman. He got fascinated with cacti during his business trips across the world and started collecting them in a greenhouse at home. Over 40 years, he gathered 1500 plus species of cacti and succulents from South America, North America, Africa, and other arid regions. Today, it's recognized as the largest cactus collection in Asia. The nursery has won several national as well as international awards for breeding and preserving rare varieties. Inside, it's spread over 2 acres with 3 greenhouses, though only one is open to visitors. The rest are for cultivation and research. You'll see everything from tiny button cacti to 6-foot tall columnar cacti, plus rare succulents like lithops, echeveria, and the ghost plant, which visitors often buy as souvenirs. The layout is quaint and colorful, cacti arranged by species and sizes with labels for most variants. The contrast of spiky green cacti against Kalimpong's misty hills is visually striking. Unlike botanical gardens, this is a private passion project. Mr. Pradhan started it out of personal interest, not commercial intent. That's why the collection feels curated rather than commercial. Plant enthusiasts love it because you can see species here that you won't find anywhere else in India. The visiting hours are from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. from Monday to Saturday during summer season and from 8:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. from Monday to Saturday during winters. Sundays are closed. The entry fee is rupees 20 per person for Indians and rupees 50 per person for foreigners. Entry is free for children below 5 and parking fee is rupees 30 per car. It's a flat rate, not per hour. The parking area is small, open to lot right outside the nursery entrance on Atisha Road. The space is limited, only about 8 to 10 cars at a time. On weekends and tourist season, it fills up fast by 11 a.m. If the parking lot is full, you will have to park along the narrow road outside. That's double but tight, and local taxis often block the way. It's best to go before 10 a.m. if you are driving yourself. Most tourists, that is why, take a shared taxi from Kalimpong town. They will drop you at the gate and wait. No extra parking cost for that since they don't enter the lot. The best time to visit Pine View Nursery is from October to March since the weather is mild and dry, which is perfect for cacti and for you to walk around without the monsoon humidity. This is a bit unique, but they actually run a homestay inside the nursery. You can stay overnight surrounded by cacti and wake up to mountain views. Rooms are basic but clean and you get homemade food. It's very popular among plant enthusiasts and couples looking for something offbeat. Rates are not listed publicly, so you need to ask at the gate. You can also buy potted cactus and succulents starting from rupees 100 up to rupees 1000 or more. For rare species, they pack plants really well for travel with proper soil and wrapping, plus a small instruction card. The ghost plant is their best seller because it's hardy and does well in Kolkata's weather too. Pine View Nursery has a playful, curious vibe. The contrast of sharp sculptural cacti against Kalimpong's soft, misty hills makes it super photogenic. Visitors often mention how unexpected it is, like you don't expect a desert plant collection in the Himalayas. If you are vlogging this area like me, then let me tell you, there is no background noise except birds chirping and wind, which is great for natural audio. After the colorful cacti at Pine View Nursery, we then headed to the highest point in Kalimpong, the Delo Park. Delo Hill isn't just a tourist spot, it's been significant to Kalimpong for decades. The hill houses one of Kalimpong's main water reservoirs that supplies drinking water to the entire town. That's why you will see a fenced reservoir area near the park. During British times, Delo Hill was used as a summer retreat because of its cooler climate and clear views. The open landscape design of the park still carries that colonial era garden vibe. The park is divided into two main sections. The lower section, or the main entry with the I Love Kalimpong sign, large open lawn and flower beds. This is where families do picnic and kids play. Next is the upper section, or the Delo viewpoint, a 5-minute walk uphill from the main lawn. This is the actual panoramic point where you get that unobstructed 360-degree view. Most people miss it and stay at the entrance, so filming here gives you a less crowded shot. The whole park is designed for leisurely strolls, like there are benches placed at strategic points so we can just sit and watch the clouds drift below the hill level. The main adventure element of this park is the paragliding. This is what sets Delo apart from other Kalimpong parks. The takeoff point is right at the edge of the park, just 50 meters from the main lawn. There are two types of flights: a 8 to 15 minutes short glide for rupees 2500 to rupees 3000, and a 25 to 30 minutes cross country flight for rupees 4500 to rupees 5000.
My daughter.
आप लोग कहाँ से?
वेस्ट बंगाल में बर्धमान से, नियर कोलकाता. हाँ,
आप लोग
हम लोग यहीं से।
यहीं से, कालिम्पोंग से. ओ,
वो इंग्लैंड से है, ये मेरा दीदी है।
ओ,
दो इसका है बच्चा, ये एक मेरा है।
ओ.
family outing.
आप लोग सब यही कालिम्पोंग से?
हम तो घर कालिम्पोंग में।
अच्छा.
Nice to meet you.
Say nice to meet you. Look at you. Thank you. Give her a high five.
Have a nice holiday. See you. What do you say?
I'm a commander.
The best time for paragliding is from October to March, when the winds are stable and skies are clear and you get that crisp mountain visibility. Monsoon season is a no-go. People usually go to Tiger Hill in Darjeeling for Kanchenjunga views, but Delo Park gives you the same snow peak view with way fewer crowds and a proper landscape park to walk around in. The park has manicured lawns with seasonal flower beds like marigolds, dahlias, petunias, and zinnias. These are the main stars. They are planted in neat patterns along the pathways and around the gazebos. The park is lined with pine and cypress trees, which gives it that classic hill station fragrance and a soft green backdrop year-round. We then headed out and drove about 15 to 20 minutes to a cafe nearby. We stopped there for some chips, cold drink, and a bit of chocolate. We spent around 30 minutes there just relaxing and taking a breather after all the sightseeing. There was a very cute dog outside the cafe staring at me, so I just gave him some kurkure popcorn that I was eating, but he didn't eat them. He just walked away, completely ignoring me. Our next destination was Dr. Graham's Home School, founded on September 24, 1900 by Reverend Dr. John Anderson Graham in Kalimpong, India. Dr. Graham's Homes, originally St. Andrew's Colonial Homes, was established to provide education and a home for underprivileged Anglo-Indian children, evolving into a premier co-educational school known for its unique cottage system and holistic learning. Today it remains a renowned, largely residential school in North Bengal, combining its colonial, philanthropic and vocational history with modern academic curriculums for both ICSE and ISC. Reverend Dr. J.A. Graham, known as Daddy Graham, died in 1942, but the school continues to follow his vision of comprehensive education, including academic, vocational, and emotional development. Historically, the school also maintained its own bakery, dairy, and farm, fostering practical skills. The campus also features a museum containing the original 1900 admission register, artifacts, and personal items belonging to the founder. Dr. Graham's Home School has that historic, mysterious vibe, and the most important thing is that it has local stories of being haunted. So yeah, here I would like to end the first part of this vlog. Thank you so much for watching. See you in part 2.